That means we'll have to make some hard decisions as we put together next year's budget.
City leaders say they're making public safety a priority. The new contract aimed at adding more officers to San Diego's police force.
I know that it's the worst kept secret in the Navy that 7th Fleet is tired and undermanned. And I think that that's not an excuse for what happened, but it's definitely something we need to take into consideration.
A Navy investigation into a pair of deadly crashes and the changes that could affect the entire fleet.
And you have gone to the most advanced aircraft in the world today. And that's the shortest way you can put it.
Training day in San Diego and an experiment in sharing command. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. San Diego police officers have voted to ratify an agreement that would give them pay raises over the next 2 years. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the agreement is on its way to the City Council.
Mayor Kevin Faulconer announced the deal's ratification by the police union with dozens of officers behind him. After the 4 pay raises, those officers will be making 25% to 30% more than what they make now. The deal is estimated to cost $66 million, and the city is already expecting budget shortfalls for the next 2 years. Faulconer says public safety is his first priority.
That means we'll have to make some hard decisions as we put together next year's budget. I continue to be committed to working with the council to minimize the impacts on neighborhoods and our residents.
The money for the pay raises has to come from somewhere, either cuts to other city programs or new revenue in the form of higher taxes or fees. Councilman Chris Cate says those decisions will be part of the budget process.
We as a council need to prioritize and make tough decisions when it comes to funding of various programs and services. This falls in line with that. We're going to be spending millions of dollars on homelessness services, which is obviously needed. We also need to properly fund our police department.
The deal is due to go before the City Council next month. If it's approved, police officers will see their first pay bump next July. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Another parking lot has opened in San Diego for people who are homeless and living in their cars. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is at the corner of Arrow Drive and Murphy Canyon Road, where the new lot is opening soon. Matt?
Yeah, Ebony, this lot right behind me is set to open in just under an hour. It's going to start opening up at 6 p.m. They're going to let in 10 cars tonight and then 5 every night up until they get to 60. Now, this lot here in Kearny Mesa, it actually used to be the old American Medical Response, or AMR. It's the city's ambulances. They used to store them here. Now, those ambulances have since been relocated. But even though this is a city-owned lot, Dreams for Change and Jewish Family Service will be running day-to-day operations here. Now, this is a gated, secure facility that even has bathrooms and hand-washing stations for people staying here. To sleep here, you can't have a record of violent crime and must be trying to better your living situation. Dreams for Change CEO Teresa Smith, we talked to her. She says they're on a 6-month contract with the city to keep this lot open.
They approached us a little over a month ago saying that they'd like us to expand, and they identified this piece of property as a place where we could actually host this program. So this lot is set to have 60 vehicles, and we have 60 at another site and 30 at another site. So we have a total of 150 spots now here in San Diego.
Yeah, guys, now in 6 months when that contract is up, the city and Dreams for Change, they're going to get together. They're going to reevaluate that contract. And then after that, potentially adding some more spaces. There's an 18-month contract extension, and they're going to see if they can get that done as well. Live here in Kearny Mesa, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Thank you, Matt. San Diego seniors got a chance today to talk directly with their state representative. Former councilman and current assemblyman Todd Gloria was in town and stopped by a town hall meeting at Serving Seniors. Homelessness was top of mind for many of the participants, and Gloria answered questions about how the city and state are addressing the affordable housing shortage and the hepatitis outbreak. Gloria also encouraged engagement with elected officials, and not just when you disagree with them.
But here's the thing, just because they may agree with you doesn't mean they shouldn't hear from you.
right? Because often people who have the different perspective are the ones who contact people like us. And it's important for, if you are in agreement, to say, you know what, I understand that we're in agreement and I thank you for that position. That's valuable too.
Serving Seniors is a San Diego nonprofit that provides services to older adults living in poverty. The California legislature is taking action to prevent harassment. Today, Senate leaders announced the hiring of 2 firms to investigate allegations of sexual harassment and assault. This comes after more than 140 women signed a letter calling out, quote, pervasive harassment at the Capitol. Any day now, the Navy is expected to release its review of 2 collisions that killed 17 sailors in the Pacific. It could lead to changes that may impact the entire fleet. To get a sense of what that might look like, KPBS's Amita Sharma sat down with our military reporter, Steve Walsh, who's been following the story.
So, Steve, we're looking at video of the bridge of the USS John McCain in 2014. Why are we starting the story here?
So as you can see, there are a lot of sophisticated technology on the bridge and a lot of people all tasked with jobs to make this ship run smoothly. So it's hard to imagine a ship like this colliding with a slow-moving freighter, but it happened in the Pacific this summer. The USS John McCain collided with a slow-moving tanker off Singapore in August. In June, the USS Fitzgerald collided with a container ship near Tokyo. All totaled, 17 sailors died. The Navy wants to fix whatever happened, so to get a sense of these issues, I talked with 2 local Navy vets who sailed in the Pacific. The Navy has said the crews of the Fitzgerald lost situational awareness. Kevin Iyer is a retired captain and 27-year Navy veteran who commanded 3 cruisers. He explained what sailors call losing the bubble.
Imagine holding it in your hand, a soap bubble. It's perfect, it's flawless. And it symbolizes your complete understanding of what is going on around you. To lose the bubble means it pops. You don't really understand all of the things that are transpiring around you.
So he says the waters around Tokyo are as crowded as the skies over O'Hare in Chicago. The difference is there's no air traffic control on the ocean.
Explain that. If there is no sea traffic control, so to speak, then how is ship traffic monitored to prevent crashes?
Yeah, well, so you end up monitoring yourself, and there's a lot going on out there. The operational tempo, or the op temp, is very high right now all around the world, but especially in the Pacific, in places like China, in North Korea. Also, there's a lot of extra duties that have been taken on. So Sean Van Diver, he's a petty officer who's worked on 2 destroyers. He says the lack of sleep is a huge problem on board ships.
It's not a giant leap that somebody might have accidentally fallen asleep. This is something that the military struggles with all the time. And we work really hard to make sure that we train ourselves to not fall asleep. But I mean, I served, 7 years at sea total, and I've seen it. I've seen lookouts fall asleep. It's cold, you're bundled up in a jacket, you're trying to pay attention, you're trying to keep your eyes peeled, but it's 3 a.m. and you've been up the whole time.
He says with all the extra duties, watch is now almost the downtime at the end of the day. But Captain Iyer says that none of this is really new.
We're paying attention to it now. There are a number of things which people seem to have grasped now that are clearly contributing to this, whether it be maintenance, whether it be training, whether it be operational tempo, whether it be undermanning of the ships.
So there are systemic issues here.
Right. So you could see changes to the Navy all across the world, including in San Diego. There could be more time set aside for training, and you could see more ships going to the Pacific, including maybe ships coming from San Diego. These 2 veterans, though, want to make it very clear that you shouldn't just blame the crews for this.
I know that it's the worst kept secret in the Navy that 7th Fleet is tired and undermanned. And I think that that's not an excuse for what happened, but it's definitely something we need to take into consideration.
So when are we going to hear from the Navy?
All right, so the Navy gave themselves 60 days from these crashes, and that time is coming up right about now. They're also trying to send a message that they're taking this very seriously. They've relieved the top officers from both the McCain and the Fitzgerald. 1 admiral has already retired early. And the 2 veterans I talked to say that's really important because many of these issues have been known for years.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve.
Millions of federal dollars are available to improve San Diego neighborhoods, but the deadline to apply for the funds is ending soon. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman has more.
$3.2 million in community development grants are available for the urban county. That includes San Diego's unincorporated area and the cities of Solana Beach, Del Mar, Poway, Coronado, Lemon Grove, and Imperial Beach. The money would pay for a variety of projects.
Things like ADA ramps or improvements to a parks facility or playground equipment. Anything that the community needs to improve the overall well-being, health for the community as a whole.
David Estrella oversees the program for the county and says projects must both benefit low-income people and fix an urgent need in the community. Like the Grossmont Spring Valley Family Health Center. They received $180,000 to add a new exam room and nursing stations.
The partnership between ourselves, between the county, and agencies like this one help us to address the needs of our most vulnerable populations, particularly homeless individuals and individuals that are seeking resources that may not, health resources that aren't available in other areas.
The new nursing stations mean more than 1,000 additional patients can be seen each year. Time is running out to apply for funding. Applications close this Friday.
Within this next week, we're hoping that the community does submit their applications. They can go to the County Housing and Community Development website, which is sdhcd.org, and review the application and submit their application.
Ultimately, it's up to the Board of Supervisors to review and determine which projects get funding. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
San Diego has to beat out a lot of competition to become home to HQ2. Today, via Twitter, Amazon announced 238 places are vying to be the site of the company's second headquarters. The Seattle-based online retail giant plans to spend more than $5 billion on HQ2, which is expected to provide 50,000 new high-paying jobs. Amazon created this map showing it's received bids from most U.S. states, Puerto Rico, and provinces in Mexico and Canada. San Diego's proposal was submitted last week. Amazon is expected to announce a winner next year. Thousands of San Diego students are home early today, thanks to this fall heat wave. Today, 85 San Diego Unified schools let out early. District officials say the impacted schools are less than 80% air conditioned. iNews Source reports San Diego Unified estimates it will cost more than $200 million to air condition approximately 2,000 classrooms. San Diego Unified called for another minimum day for schools tomorrow. Jeff Cornish has more in this hot weather trend in tonight's forecast.
We are once again concerned about wildfires. Red flag warnings are in effect, and it is hot out there this evening. We're going to remain pretty hot through Wednesday. Red flag warnings are in effect for virtually all areas on the domestic side, north of the international border, inland from the city, and all the way up into Long Beach as well. There are also heat alerts. Excessive heat warnings are in effect right up to the coastline, so that certainly includes us in La Jolla and into places like San Diego and Chula Vista. So we have wildfire danger through the first half of the week. Some of the wind gusts may reach 60 miles per hour in some canyons and some passes. That's certainly a big concern with the Santa Anas. And record highs are in jeopardy, not just today's high, but also tomorrow. Record highs that have historically been in the books are from 1965. 94 degrees tomorrow. We expect to exceed that in the city. The satellite radar is a snooze fest. Unfortunately, not much of any moisture around here. Clear skies down to 68 degrees for your overnight low. And in places like Ramona and Alpine, will be in the mid-60s tonight. Borrego Springs, 68 degrees, 56 into Mount Laguna, and into San Diego itself, about 68. Pretty warm out there, and the hot offshore flow continues through Tuesday. It's dry out there, and the wildfire danger remains a significant concern. Here we are, just scorching, 93 in San Diego, near record highs there, into Chula Vista around 88 degrees, Mount Laguna 86, and into Borrego Springs 100 degrees back up there. Look at Long Beach, 103, very, very hot off to the north. A lot going on this map across the central U.S. for the late week forecast. except for here. We're dealing with a warm breeze. It will not be as windy, and the elevated fire danger will subside a little bit once we get into the second half of the week, at least to some degree. 97 at the coast, sizzling sunshine, 91 into Wednesday, and then we get back down into the low 80s. What a difference that makes when that breeze shifts onshore. That'll be nice at the end of the week. Inland areas, 104 on Tuesday, down to around 90 Friday and Saturday. And as we look at the mountain forecast, 86 falling to 72 by Friday, and we'll close it out with the deserts dropping into the low 90s eventually. I'm Jeff Cornish, KPBS News.
Fire crews in Napa and Sonoma counties made progress over the weekend, achieving 90% containment around all the wildfires in the region. About 4,000 people are still evacuated, and firefighters are working around the clock to clean up areas that are unsafe so people can return home. Now that the fire danger has diminished, the focus shifts to preventing flooding.
On large damaging fires like this, oftentimes the soil is just baked. So the water's not able to actually go into the soil, it just runs right off. And if our streams or other waterways are blocked with trees and other brush, that's when flooding can occur.
In total, 42 people were killed in the fires and about 100 are still missing, while 8,400 homes were destroyed. Throughout the month, the Marines and Navy are conducting a massive exercise off the shores of San Diego. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh spent the day at sea and has this report.
We're on board the USS Essex, right off the coast of California. Outside you can hear one of the Ospreys getting ready to take off. We're here for Operation Dawn Blitz, which is part a Marine training exercise and part real-life field exercise for the Navy and Marines. This time around, they're testing the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. The F-35 is one of the most expensive military programs in U.S. history. It's being rolled out for the first time in a joint exercise this month in San Diego. Rear Admiral O'Connor says the F-35 is unlike anything the Marines have used in the past.
It is an immensely capable aircraft. The flexibility to be able to deploy it here from an LHD, to be able to take off horizontally and land vertically, to have multi-mission capabilities. It's an incredible aircraft.
In this exercise, the Navy and Marines are experimenting with more fully sharing command and using a new Marine missile, not only on land, but also on board ship. Reporting from on board the USS Essex, Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
I'm Hari Srinivasan on the next news hour. On the home front, U.S. veterans injured in war and finally starting families with in vitro fertilization. That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
A group of LGBT activists in New York have formed a gun club. AP reporter Michael Hill says they're anxious about an armed and organized extreme right.
Once a month, members of this Rochester gun club meet in a field for target practice. Some had never touched a gun until this past year.
We have each other's backs. We're acknowledging our fear of a world in which conservatives are the only ones who are armed.
The Trigger Warning Queer and Trans Gun Club formed as a reaction to the recent rise of the extreme right. 2 pride flags were burned in this upstate New York City right after the election of President Donald Trump. Other events, including the white nationalist rally in Charlottesville this summer, further convinced some members of the LGBT community of the need to take up arms.
Often queer people are thought of as being weak, as being defenseless, and I think in many ways this pushes back against that. And, you know, I want white supremacists and neo-Nazis to know that queer people are taking steps necessary to protect themselves.
Zora Gusso says she used to be scared of guns.
The first time that I was like near a gun, I physically responded. I was scared. I had this
Not anymore.
I'm surprised. I just popped off this 12-gauge shotgun.
It's not as though the left is suddenly arming itself en masse. But members of Trigger Warning are not alone. Paid membership in the Liberal Gun Club, a national group, has roughly doubled since the election to about 5,500. And 500 people joined the National African American Gun Association right after Charlottesville. But many activists remain wary of an armed response.
Is
an arms race what we really want. I mean, what we know in any arms race is it's never good for anybody. And death and destruction and harm and hurt can come when so many people have arms and weapons.
Trigger warning members say the point is self-defense, empowerment, and a sense of community in an unlikely place. Michael Hill, Associated Press.
Anthropologists say ancient human teeth hold a lot of clues. Hidden inside each set is information about the owner's behavior and ancestry. In tonight's SciTech Report, producer Emily Driscoll introduces us to a New York University professor who uses teeth to understand where humans come from.
My specialty is in the dental morphology, or the bumps and the grooves and the shape of teeth. I'm interested in when we get the teeth that we recognize as being distinctly Homo sapiens.
Locked inside our teeth are secrets of our past.
Teeth are 98% mineral in content already. Teeth are basically fossils in your mouth. A lot of what we know about evolution of organisms is based on the teeth. Sometimes it's the only thing that preserves.
And the information Bailey and other researchers uncover from looking at pearly whites pieces together the origins of early humans, going back to when humans and chimpanzees split from a common ancestor around 6 to 8 million years ago. One key difference is recorded in the fangs, or canines. They become more diamond-shaped. Other clues are more subtle. In reading the topography of teeth, Bailey can reconstruct details of their owners' lives, like behavior, location, and even their last meals.
If you run your tongue along your molar teeth, you'll feel little bumps. Those are called cusps. In leaf-eating primates, their cusps are very high, and they shear against one another, right, like scissors.
Flat cusps work more like a mortar and pestle, and point to teeth used for grinding nuts or seeds. Counting cusps can give indication about origin. Most people have 5 cusps on the lower molars. 4 cusps point to places with a long history of agriculture, like Europe and India. 6 cusps are often found in people with Asian ancestry, and an extra cusp on the tongue side, cusp 7, may point to sub-Saharan African ancestry. Now, move your tongue behind your top 2 front teeth. Do you feel deep ridges? That could indicate Northeast Asian or Native American ancestry, and could also be accompanied by ridges on the front of the teeth.
That's called double shoveling, because it looks like a coal shovel. And that's where they get the name. And the link between Native Americans and Northeast Asians is very clear when you look at the teeth.
Zooming in closer, a scanning electron microscope reveals fine scratches and gives clues on a month of meals. And going deeper, you can look at the growth lines of the enamel, which researchers can read like tree rings.
You can tell how fast an individual grew their teeth, which some people think reflects how fast they grew in general.
Bailey looks at how all the bumps, scratches, and features combine to piece together information about early humans. And her work can put her in the middle of debates about our origins.
We like to think that we're really special, and so it's like, because we're here and Neanderthals aren't, right? So why is that? Is it diet? Did we kill them off? Were we smarter?
When archaeologists discovered a site in southern Italy from 41,000 years ago, around the time Neanderthals went extinct, containing some of the earliest art and tools, there was a debate about the culture that created them. Was it Neanderthals or modern humans?
It's like one of these transitional tool industries. And so the question is, what were Neanderthals capable of? What were their minds like? And the only way you can get a Neanderthal mind, because we don't have brains, is by what they left behind, what they were doing.
Scientists didn't have many remains to go by, just a few teeth.
We looked at all the teeth, and they're all, they're modern human.
Not Neanderthals. The cultures that created the earliest art and tools represent a shift in human evolution, and likely led to the demise of Neanderthals in the area. And Bailey was called again when researchers found a site with remains of a specimen nicknamed the Hobbit.
The question was, is this a new species, Homo floresiensis? I was called in to go look at the teeth. I did. And to be honest, I looked at the molars and I'm like, they look kind of modern. I mean, they have 4 cusps. There's nothing really remarkable about the upper molars. but there's the lower third premolar, there's your first bicuspid, what the dentist would call it. It's like nothing I've ever seen. And all, all the modern humans I've looked at, even the fossil hominins. And it has like 3 roots, it has an extra weird cusp. The shape of it is, kind of odd, but it's really just the whole way it's put together is completely unique. The teeth support this as being a different species.
Recently, Bailey examined a set of baby teeth, which helped determine that remains found in 2015 were from a new species, Homo naledi. But despite so many differences, early human and Neanderthal teeth have one surprising thing in common. They'd get a good report from dentists today.
I look at all these fossil teeth, right? There's no dentists back then, and they're perfect. They're beautiful. You start looking at teeth after agriculture gets adopted, and their teeth just, go to hell in a handbasket. There are cavities, there's abscesses, they're disgusting.
Now that's some history you can sink your teeth into.
You can find more stories like that one on SciTech Now, Sunday nights at 5:30, right here on KPBS. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.